Hi. So this is part 4 of I'm still not sure what I want to call it, but basically how spirituality calmed my alcoholism and panic disorder. I'm just out of the shower. I apologize. I have to do this while I'm inspired, otherwise it just kind of and I always get inspired after a shower for some reason. So anyway, this part of it was on my mind yesterday, but I wasn't quite sure how to articulate it, and I still am not quite 100%, but I'm going to do my best right now. So I've kind of noticed, I know some people just throughout life, you know people, you meet people, you see people go through the 12-step process, go to AA. I mean, I've been in AA before, years and years ago. I've seen, and I see how wonderful it is. I mean, believe me, my boyfriend at the time had to ask me to stop going. He's like, you don't need to go anymore. But I loved how therapeutic it was for me. So I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. I'm just saying it wasn't for me, and there might be other people like me. So I just want to leave that there. But one thing I noticed with the program is that there was still always this, I already covered how alcohol was the focal point. So, the more you talk about it, it's just there. And then, so it's not, but it shouldn't be about the alcohol. It should be about the how do I put this? It's about your story, right? That you need to let go of, because the whole reason you drink alcohol to that level was because you were trying to mask the pain of the story. So the focus should be on the story that you want to let go of. So I know that's kind of a conundrum, because it's like you don't want to spend too much time dwelling on this story, because then you start to get triggered, right? So that's where spirituality comes in, because I feel like you kind of tap out with your growth and conscious expansion and the reason you need conscious expansion is because when you're aware to the point where you could see at a bird's eye view what went wrong, then you're like, oh my gosh, you're going to start having these epiphanies. And that's how you'll know, because only you are going to know how to custom tailor your healing journey. Only you will know that. And so that's one of the things I want to talk about in my channel, is how to put more tools in your tool belt so that you know what to do, because ultimately your higher self knows what to do. So I'm only going to tell, because I don't consider myself a coach or anything like that, at least not at this point. Right now, I'm just learning as I go, but I'm trying to share as I uncover different things, and they've been sustained for X amount of time, so that I know that it worked for me. So what I'm saying is, since my whole goal was to sustain that wonderful feeling, spirituality and the whole beauty that comes with it started to show itself in my existence because I was allowing it to. Before, I wasn't allowing it to enough. Even though I considered myself a spiritual person, I was operating from an egoic frame. So now, since I've surrendered completely, the whole point is to surrender to God or a higher power, so that you can heal, right? Well, again, there's nothing wrong with, anything that's the Christian way. I just knew since I was a child, growing up in a Christian household, and also being very spiritual, that my connection with God, there's nothing more powerful than that. So my decision, once I surrendered, was to surrender to the same higher power, same God, but then also cultivate my relationship with my higher self. And so through meditation, through going on walks, through actually being present in the shower and tapping in, through that, I was able to just know what to do to face those demons once and for all. And there were so many wonderful people. I mentioned before how it's so important to curate your own YouTube channel, so that you're watching and learning all things that interest you. It doesn't, so the people I recommend might not even resonate with you at all. You might be like, I don't have anything in common with this person. So, a good place to start, like I said, was Lewis Howes, just because his whole podcast is about greatness, and that could be in every aspect of your life. So you might hear one guest on his show and be like, this is lame. And then you might hear another one and be like, wow, this is awesome. So then go down that avenue and see what books they might have read or wrote, or what other podcasts they have been on, or whatever. And then you kind of just dig and add to your watch later, and just keep adding it. That becomes fun. So we do need other people to guide us, but we also have so many resources within us. And that's what spirituality is all about, because we do have access to infinite intelligence, as long as we believe it. If we don't believe it, then it's not true. But one thing, I've kind of dubbed it reverse learning. These are things that I've learned through meditation, or just kind of knew in my heart of hearts, just intuitively knew something. And then weeks later, years later, whenever, I'll be listening to a podcast or reading a book, and then a doctor or professor will say the same philosophical truth or, ideal. And I'm like, that's what I've been thinking, So that's intuitive learning, like that's just knowing something, like I know that to be true. That's a wonderful feeling, because it validates what you already believe to be true, and that's what resonated with you, even though society might say something completely different than what you held to be true. So it's important to have your own truth. So, my whole channel, I might say something in one of my videos that doesn't make sense to you or resonate with you, and that's fine. That's totally fine. This is my interpretation of what has happened, and I've been able to sustain such a beautiful, wonderful feeling. I'm not even going to say life. I mean, of course, but my feelings were so out of whack for so many years, and now I finally have a grip on it and have control, and I'm able to see things from a different perspective. And it's because it's a spiritual perspective. That's why things just started clicking. That's why I drank so much then, and that's why well, obviously, after a breakup or a death or any kind of grief or job loss, you're going to drink more, of course. But through spirituality and through healing old stuff, then when you lose your job or you go through a breakup or there's some sort of grief, you handle it different. You're armed with your with tools in your tool belt to process in a way that more aligns with you, what your soul wants for you. Of course, we're going to go through hard times, but now we don't want to use alcohol as the crutch, as the way to self-medicate. And my whole goal in this, I didn't realize this was my goal until like a couple months in, but I realized that I do want to have alcohol in my life eventually, but it should be the icing on the cake when all is well, all bills are paid, everyone's happy. It's a time of celebration for me, not someone else's job promotion. That's not celebration. That's celebration for them. So I had a certain kind of criteria. And if I wasn't feeling 100% on, then that wasn't the time to be drinking. It really wasn't at all. So it's about learning. This truly is a journey of self-discovery, knowing what your limits are, knowing what makes you feel good, like innocently good, what makes you feel passionate. Pause this for a second. So there's work to be done, just like in any program. There's work to be done. The difference is, once you're aligned with yourself, once you're truly aligned with yourself, it comes easily. It comes easily. It doesn't feel like work. It doesn't feel like, oh, now I have to do this, you know. I'll take an example would be, I always wanted to make amends with my mom. You know, I had so many mixed emotions when it came to my mom. I didn't know where to start. There was years and years of built up resentments and anger, and then also feeling guilty for how I've treated her because of that resentment and anger. So how do I tackle that? You know, years and years of, you know, feeling guilty and shame, you know, for treating my own mother, you know, that way. But then, you know, when I was drinking all the time, it's like, well, you know, you know. So, you know, how was I going to tackle that? Writing a letter to me just was painful. It was extremely painful. So instead, my what I felt to be the most healing was to just take the time out when I felt called to do it, not forcing this, but when I felt right. You know, I did set my boundaries with my mom. I said I prefer just right now, you know, for me to call you, you know, let me pause this. For me to call you, and, you know, when I felt called to, you know, when I felt it was the most natural. That's what it's all about. Doing things when it comes naturally, when it comes with ease. Like Abraham Hicks calls it the path of least resistance. Not just Abraham, lots of people say that. But, you know, before when she would call, I'd get this feeling like, oh, you know, I don't want to do that right now. You know, I'm just not in the mood. But the longer I abstained, the more time that had passed, and I had more things to be proud of myself for, we had things to talk about that I wanted to talk about. I wanted to share that with her. I wanted to, you know, hey, I did a DIY lounger outside. I want you to see it. I'm going to send you pictures right now. And so we started doing this thing we called coffee talk. And so, you know, usually for me, it would be like 8, 9 in the morning. I had already been up for a couple hours. She'd already been up for a couple hours. I already did my morning routine, and I just felt like, oh, okay, like I have time to like talk to her. I've never been one to like to talk on the phone at all. Like I don't like to do it, but that kind of started to just be almost like a treat. Like I looked forward to it, you know, and listening to her, how her work life's going, how she's settling into her new neighborhood, you know, whatever. I actually started to really enjoy those conversations, and she could feel it, and she knew it, and just her seeing my growth, and being so dedicated to it, that was enough. That's enough. And now, you know, now we have this whole new relationship, and I can't believe how quickly, you know, it's done a 180. It really has, you know, like this weekend we're going to go to Pageant of the Masters in Laguna Beach, and, you know, like a month ago we planned it. Before, if she asked me to do something like that, I would cringe, you know, like, no, I don't want to, you know, I'd rather go to work, you know. I had a lot of stuff that I had to get through. And so you could tell that you've been healed, or that you're on the path of healing, when these sort of things just come easy and you actually look forward to it, because you know that resentment's gone. It's dissolved, or it's dissolving. And so the other person can sense that too. And they appreciate it more than they could ever put into words either. So things like that. That's just one little example, but you don't have to worry so much about all these little details, because they'll work themselves out. The more aligned you are with your higher self, the more things will just become easy. And if you are religious, that's wonderful, but I still would suggest to bring in spirituality to complement it. It's only going to assist you with your connection to spirit, to God, to angels, to your higher self, to the divine, to source, God. So spirituality will only complement too, even if you're very science minded. Spirituality, start researching more and more about quantum physics, the quantum field. That is where you go in meditation. That is where things start to manifest. It's all energy. It's all about energy. So when we start to put our energy into things that truly mean something to us, not to our mom, not to our grandma, not to our significant other, not to our child, but to us, when we put our energy into that, everything else just falls into place. What do I need to learn next? What do I need to, what's my next challenge? What's the next thing I need to heal? That will come naturally. So it all comes back down. Boils back down to clearing this out, and then you'll just know what to do. You'll just know what to do intuitively. And so let me just make sure I don't have any other notes. I think I covered this already, but how we lose our intuition. We lose that when we're drinking all the time. Even if it's just a few times a week, we lose our natural intuition. And through studying myself from a scientific standpoint and taking the data, and this was even before, when I was meditating a lot, I noticed a pattern that I could not meditate. I could not go into a deep meditation or even an express meditation if I had drank 3 days before. So I feel like it takes 3 to 5 days for this vessel to be clear enough for you to be truly tapped in. Tapped into your higher self, tapped into spirit, tapped into divine knowledge. So I know that sounds crazy, but it's been proven to me over and over and over again. And then once hearing it from other people too, in the same type of communities, it's like, okay, so it's a truth, it's my truth anyway. It might be totally different for someone else. Someone might be able to rage and then tap in the next day. I don't know how you do it, but that kind of goes into vibrations, so if you're partying all night and then you go to meditate the next day, you're in a different frequency. So it's kind of like trying to get, the FM station 101.1 from 98.7. It's not gonna happen. You're on a different frequency. So I'll get more into that later. But anyway, this will conclude this video. At least I think so. Yeah. Anyway, that's enough for now. Bye.